Hey guys, welcome to AI with AI. This side Asif Himnat. In today's video, we are going to talk about Support Vector Machine, a demo on Support Vector Machine, an example of Support Vector Machine. In previous videos, we have already discussed the theory of what is Support Vector Machine, how it really works with the hyperplane, with the margin. But this video is dedicated only for the demo, for the example. And trust me, this is one of the best and one of the most important demo in supervised machine learning classification technique, and also one of my favorite classification technique in machine learning. So make sure you watch this video till the end. Okay, so we are going to talk about support vector machine, example of support vector machine on typical machine learning classification dataset, that is Iris dataset. We have already discussed Iris dataset in multiple videos in different machine learning classification techniques, but dataset doesn't really matter here. We are taking Iris dataset because it is the most popular one, and we are already aware about what the dataset is. Okay, so just to give you introduction, so this is a typical classification machine learning technique where we have three different classes of flowers: Setosa, versicolor, and a virginica. So we are going to feed this data to a machine learning model. Here in our example, we are going to provide Iris dataset to support vector machine, so that machine learns from the previous data as supervised learning and classify the types of the data. So whenever you present a new type of flower, machine learning will identify what class it belongs to, whether it is Setosa, whether it is versicolor, or a virginica. Right, we are not doing image classification here. This is not neural network. This is a machine learning. In deep learning, we do neural networks and image classification, right? Machine learning understand data in the form of tables in numericals. So I need a data in the form of tables. So this is how the data will look like. The sepal length, sepal width, petal length, and petal width of the flower is given. So this upper part of the flower is called petal, and the lower part of this flower called as sepal. Okay, so petal length, petal width, sepal width is given. 4 features, 4 columns, and one more column which is a target, which is a class, whether based on the length and width what type of this flower is. This is what we need to predict. Okay, let's see what we have further. As usual, we are going to import all the required libraries: NumPy, Pandas, Matplotlib, Seaborn, and dataset, so that I'll be using Iris dataset here, which is provided by sklearn, scikit-learn library itself, and metrics, so that I can calculate precision recall and F1 score and confusion matrix. Okay, so let's do the plots in line here in the Jupyter notebook itself. Hit shift enter to execute this cell. Nothing much, just import all the required libraries. And as I said, I'll be using a dataset which is provided by scikit-learn. So here you see in the next cell we are doing dataset.load iris, which is an inbuilt dataset provided by scikit-learn. So we are catching it in variable called iris, so that I can perform some SQL like queries on the dataset. That's why we need data frame. So we are preparing this data frame by using pandas libraries. Okay, NumPy is for numerical operations, pandas is to perform operations on the table, basically on a data frame. Matplotlib, name itself says to plot the data for visualization purpose. Seaborn is the advanced plot. Okay, it is one step above Matplotlib. So once we have data frame prepared, let's see how our data looks like. df.head will show me 5 rows. Shift enter again, and first 5 rows are displayed here. You see sepal length, sepal width, petal width, and the last row is target. What you see here is 0, 0, 0. Target is nothing but 0, 1, and 2. Machine doesn't understand categorical data, but 0 here means a setosa, 1 means versicolor, virginica is 2. Alright, the sepal length, sepal width, petal width, all of these measurements are given in centimeters, and we are going to predict what type of flower it is, which is nothing but the target column. Now let me see the total number of rows here by using df.target. So I want to see how many total number of flowers we have here. Values.count, shift enter, so it shows me 0, 50 type, 2, 50, 1, 50. Okay, so total 150 rows we have, and all of type integer. If you remember, in one of the previous videos we discussed about best practices in machine learning. What is it? Import the data, clean the data, use feature engineering, and plot the data. Before you train your model on any machine learning algorithm, it is important for you to understand the data. Unless and until you don't understand the nature of the data, how will you decide which algorithm to use? Okay, so most important thing as a machine learning engineer or as as a data scientist, what you need to understand is which machine learning model can be used for this data set. So that is why whenever you get a data, try to plot the data. And we are going to plot the data by using SNS. SNS is Seaborn library here. And we are doing a scatter plot. We are plotting a scatter plot, plt.scatterplot. And we are using some map function in SNS, which will help me to plot the data against petal length and petal width. We can imagine only two-dimensional data, that is why 2 columns only, as we have 4 columns, but considering only 2 columns for now to at least look at the nature of the data. Shift enter to check the plot of the data. This is how the data looks like, and very simple to understand here. We want to classify the data based on the target. That's why the hue selected here is a target, and the DF is where your complete data is available. If you can see here in the graph, type 0 is very far from the other data points. Blue data points is basically 0. You can see the legends here. Orange, amber 1 is 1, and green here is 2. So blue is Setosa, amber here is versicolor, and green here is virginica. So just by looking at the data, I can easily say I may get 100% accuracy. I mean, type 0 can be classified very easily, that is Setosa, whereas for versicolor and virginica there is some mix. Greens are mixed with the orange data points here. So drawing a classification line on such data points is a bit difficult. However, I draw the line to classify this data, I may not get 100% accuracy. Okay, this is what I understand by looking at this. Okay, let's proceed ahead and try to apply support vector machine on this data set. So here I'm importing support vector machine from scikit-learn. So SVM we require, and I'm using svm.svc function to train my model to fit the model. What are the steps that you remember in machine learning? Import the required libraries is the very first step. Then the second step is visualize the data. Then third step is to clean the data. And then fourth is decide which machine learning model that you want to use. And fifth step is do model.fit, is to train the data. And then finally model.predict, to predict the outcome on new data. Amazing. svm.svc has some parameters. So these are called tuning parameters. And these parameters are very important. So in this video, we need to understand the parameters and the importance of these parameters. Otherwise, demo is really easy, right? Just import svm model.fit and model.predict and your machine learning model is ready. The important here is to understand why support vector machine, and important here is to how support vector machine by tuning the parameters and what are these parameters. Okay, just to understand what are the parameters here and what is the value that I should provide in the parameters, I need to Google these parameters. Let me Google scikit-learn SVM library. Let's scroll down and understand the parameters part. You see C is very important. C is a regularization parameter. You might have seen value of C or parameter C in some of the previous examples as well, such as logistic regression, right? So it is a regularization parameter which will help you fine tune your machine learning model. We are going to understand regularization in detail, maybe in some other videos. For simplicity, I'm going to tell how the value of C is going to affect the support vector machine here. I'm back on the presentation which I have used in the previous videos. For detailed explanation, you can watch these videos, but to quickly understand what is C parameter here. So whenever you provide the value of C, if it is large value, it needs to be a positive always, it above 0. And as you provide bigger and bigger value of C, the margin will be smaller. It is inversely proportional to the margin. So the larger the value of C, smaller is the margin. Smaller the value of C, larger is the margin. By looking at this diagram, I can easily understand that I should not provide bigger value of C, because larger the value of C, smaller is the margin, and it will have a tendency to overfit the data, right? It will be as good as logistic regression, drawing a classification line so that it can classify the data. Then what is the difference between support vector machine and logistic regression? Logistic regression also draws a line to separate the data, but the importance of support vector machine when it keeps the margin. Okay, so the margin kept here is decided by the value of C. So you need to find the tuned value of C. It should not be so big and it should not be so small, so that you should not also have an underfitting. So identifying that value of C is really important, and it should be positive. Let's go back to scikit-learn and understand different parameters. Now the second most important parameter here is the kernel. Kernel parameter is really important. Kernel defines what type of support vector machine you are gonna use. Is it linear, polynomial, RBF, sigmoid, pre-computed, so on and so forth. What type of kernel you want to use. If you remember, in one of the video I discussed support vector machine and their types. I'm gonna keep the link of that video here in the description and also on the I button. Please make sure you check that. Types of support vector machine, right? Just to quickly give you idea about what is this kernel stands for, I'm back on the presentations here. Sometimes the data is not linearly separable. You cannot draw a line to separate the data, to classify the data. I cannot draw a line like this to classify the data. I cannot draw it like this. I cannot draw it like this. Then how should I classify this type of data? This is where you need to understand that this is not linearly separable problem. And this is where you need to look into different dimensions and come up with a different idea, that is kernel SVM. So it tries to look at the data in different dimensions and tries to draw a hyperplane, something like this. As you see in the diagram, data is drawn against the axis so that now the data looks something different, and from top this is how the data looks like, and the hyperplane is somewhere here. Whenever the data is not linearly separable, we use kernel SVM. So you need to define what type of kernel you want to use for SVM model. That's why really important. For our example, we'll be using linear and also RBF here. Then there are some more parameters. You can try these out. Just one of the parameter that we will be using is gamma, and gamma is generally useful when data is not linear. I mean, whenever you set value of kernel as poly, RBF and sigmoid, this is where gamma value will come into picture. I'm gonna provide value of gamma and we'll see how it looks like. Okay, let's go back to our demo. Great, I hope now these parameters are clear to you. So to start with, I'm using linear kernel and value of C is provided 1. It can only take positive numbers. Let's see, and we can change the value of C here, and model.fit X and Y, iris.data, iris.target. Okay, shift enter. My model is ready, model is trained. Everything happens behind the scenes with simple one function, that is model.fit. And finally, to look at the score, how my model is performing, I can use model.score, iris.data, again X and Y. Basically, we are providing X and Y again just to check how my model is performing on the same data set here. So I can see the accuracy is 0.99, which is 99%. Amazing. Let me change the value of C here. So does it make any change on the score? Let's see, shift enter again, 0.1 this time, model.score. You see it is 96% now, right? So value of C has been changed. It is again positive, 0.1 I have provided, right? It should not be a large. Now you can understand even 1 can be a bigger value for C, okay, based on your data set. So you need to just try out by using different values for C. So if I provide 0.1, which gives me lesser accuracy, which is 96%. So should I use 0.1 or should I use 1 here? What is the best value that I should put for the C? I would like to understand your thoughts here. Put them down in the comments. But let me explain, bigger the value of C, higher the chances of overfitting. So that is why you see better accuracy. But better accuracy doesn't mean your model is good. It is overfitting. So you need to find the best fitting value. So let me put 0.1 for now, and let me do the further predictions so that I understand the insight. Just by looking at this accuracy, I don't understand how does the data is really classified. So I'm gonna see precision recall and F1 score, and to check that I have prepared expected and predicted here, and let me execute this cell as well. So this cell will give me confusion matrix and also classification report. I'm using metrics here. So metrics gives me precision recall and F1 score, right? Expected and predicted. Expected we already have, which is a target column, and model.predict will give me the predicted values based on the data that you're going to provide. This is Y and this is predicted after model is ready, which will be available after model.predict. These are the values I have provided to the different metrics function here so that I got precision recall and F1 scores. So this gives me better insight. 0 Setosa, 100% accuracy. We have also seen this here in the diagram, right? There should not be any problem with classifying Setosa. I can draw any linear line here and classify this. So 100% accuracy. For versicolor, 95. F1 score is 95. So this is the accuracy I'm getting. And I can also see that here because there is some mix of Setosa, that is orange data points here with the green. So that is why I got 95%. And for versicolor, 95% F1 score. F1 score is the average of precision recall. We have also discussed precision recall and F1 score in detail. You can watch that video as well to understand what exactly you mean by precision recall and F1 score. So whenever you work in machine learning, training, your clients and your managers will ask for F1 score. So F1 score is the better calculation technique to identify the accuracy of your model. Okay, that is what I can tell you here. And if I look at the confusion matrix, so this is my confusion matrix here, which shows me row 0 is Setosa, row 1 is versicolor, row 2 is virginica. 50 rightly classified as Setosa, 0 wrongly classified as versicolor, 0 wrongly classified as virginica. Whereas row 2 tells me about versicolor, 0 wrongly classified as versicolor, 48 rightly classified as versicolor, 2 data points are wrongly classified as virginica. Whereas row 3 tells me that 47 are rightly classified as virginica and 3 data points are wrongly classified as versicolor. Okay, this is how I can understand the insight of the predictions by using confusion matrix. Really important technique. Okay, you can change the value of C, you can change the kernel and look at the different values that you're gonna get here. But I'm going one step ahead here to change the type of the kernel to non-linear. How does it perform when I have non-linear data? If I change the kernel type to RBF, how does this look like? I also want to visualize this. So let's try that out. You don't need to really worry about the code. I'm gonna provide you the GitHub repository link for this code, but what we did here is again we prepared X and Y Iris dataset. We are considering only first two features, first two columns. We also want to visualize the data, right? To visualize the data, only two-dimensional data can be visualized. That is why only two features, only two columns. Let me show you the output first so that you guys can understand what I'm trying to explain you here. So if you see, this is how my data look like, and I have tunable parameters here. These are I widgets, interactive widgets. If I change the kernel currently provided is linear, and I have tunable parameter which can be changed using interactive function. If I change this, do you see the diagram below is also changing? This linearly separable line is also changing. Please observe that as I change the value of the C, that line is also changing, isn't it? Do you see that? So larger the value of C, it is overfitting. Smaller the value of C, it is underfitting. So I need to find the trade-off between this. But most importantly, we need to check the other kernel type, which is RBF. So I'm gonna select RBF here, and value of C doesn't really matter in RBF. So let me keep it as it is, and I'm gonna change the gamma. Gamma becomes really important in case of RBF kernel, where we are thinking why I selected RBF is because I'm thinking my data is not linearly separable. That's why I'm using RBF kernel. And let's see how does the data looks like. So currently gamma value is 50. So I can change this value. Let me make it smaller. You can see as I'm providing smaller values, the classification is also changing here. Please observe that. It will take some time because there is a small delay here, but doesn't really matter. You see the value of gamma is 1 now. This is how the classification is happening. This is non-linear. That is the importance of RBF. We are visualizing how SVM is working in non-linear kernel. Amazing, isn't it? Let me change the value of gamma. Let me make it bigger and let me see how does the SVM really classifies the data. You see, bigger the value of gamma, there is overfitting. So don't provide bigger value of gamma here. It is going overfitting here. So some of the data points are missed. SVM model is trying to draw a separation for every data points, which is overfitting obviously. It is always better to choose the good value of gamma. I think 10 is enough. I hope now you understand what is RBF kernel and what is the value of C and what is gamma. If you're really understanding this, please make sure to like, subscribe and also share with your friend. I'm putting a lot of efforts to prepare this and explain machine learning in a simpler way. Let me quickly talk about how it is working. What we did here is we just created a function, my SVM classifier, and this function is getting called by the interact function. So whenever you are changing the value of kernel C or gamma from this, every time it's gonna call this function, and dynamically we are passing the parameters kernel, C and gamma. Whatever value of kernel you provide here, it will call this function. Okay, every time you change it, it will call this function. As well as I change the value of C, it will call this function and it will draw the plot. This is what we are doing. Change the value here, call this function and draw how it looks like. And to use interact function, you see I'm using IPY widgets, import interact SVM classifier. This is the function we are calling, and the parameters which you want to pass dynamically. kernel value, linear or RPF drop down. Value of C is in between 0.001 to 10. Value of gamma is between 1 to 100. So these are the values I want to pass to the interactive function, and based on the value that you provided, it will call this function and draw the plot based on the value that you have provided. This is what we did here. Enough of SVM for this video. I hope you are able to make the sense out of it. Please comment down below if anything you are struggling with to understand and what other videos you want to see. That is it for this video. Thank you. Take care. Bye bye.